It's Saturday night. And if you were like me, maybe you were tired earlier, you fell asleep, you took a nap, you were just bored. Well, you know what? Forget about all that because I got a shot of energy right now like no other Monster, Red Bull drink, and anything else put together. Because our guest tonight is not only the energy of Resurrection Wrestling, he is the energy of this sport who in a short amount of time has accomplished maybe more than anyone I've seen in the past 7, 8, 9, 10 years that has competed. He has been a staple over these past several months in our very good friends, Resurrection Wrestling. They just had a show we have been talking about here for weeks, and we spoke about it even yesterday with a very, very well known and well accomplished and respected guest in the one and only Jimmy Controversy. He's going to tell his side of the story, plus also talk some other breaking news that we saw in Resurrection Wrestling here that was announced on somebody he knows very well's Instagram page. He needs no further introduction, but because it's his first time here on Sportswire Radio, and he has seen many of his peers in Resurrection get the introduction, and even some of the people he squared off on a little company's TV called TBW, aka Tennessee Backyard Wrestling. So with without further ado here on the Sports Report, the number one global sports show, the reigning, defending, Resurrection Wrestling Internet Champion of the World, Dangelo, the
Yes, sir.
Flame. The champ is here.
Hello. Thank you. That was wonderful. One of the best, of course. But
It's
I
funny you
loved
said
it.
that. I am going to get to, because I feel like I do this every time I'm on the air on Sportswire as I'm going into my 5 year anniversary. I feel like the last 2 years, I explain this all the time. But, everybody on Sportswire says, I watch these and I watch the intros. And then I come on Sportswire and it's like, wow, those introductions, it's almost like there's nothing else like it live. I watch it from, my home. I watch it on Facebook. I've in the past on YouTube and Twitter and listen to it on sportswireradio.org. But then when I'm a guest and I get to hear it, it's like nothing else. So obviously, I'm not surprised you said those things, but it's well deserved. And congratulations. Champ, there is a lot to talk about here in your career, a lot going on here in the world of your journey and everything else. But I have to break the breaking news that we all saw on the Instagram page of one of your opponents, one of your maybe arch enemies, maybe your biggest arch enemy in your short career so far. That is Mr. Neff himself, the Boat Neff, has actually announced that as of lockdown, the Resurrection show coming up, the next one, the first one of 2024, which was, by the way, announced on the air with the co-owner of this company, which you certainly so represent as our champion, Mr. Joseph Tibbs, also general manager, that he is no longer going to compete for the time being after January 27th in lockdown, and you have some rivalry with him. I know that there has to be some unfinished business, so I have to ask you, for those that are listening and watching on Sports Wire Radio, your reactions to the fact that your longtime nemesis, the Boat Nepp, is no longer going to be competing for the foreseeable future in Resurrection Pro Wrestling after lockdown January 27th.
Yeah, 'cause honestly, look, I'll be all seriousness with you. When I seen it on Instagram, it caught me off surprise. Like it caught me off guard. I was like, this last person I would expect to, is call it quits. And but at the same time, from like a wrestler standpoint, I was like, dang, but like he got the talent. I'm not gonna deny that. Also, like he got the talent. It's just the way he go by doing things. Of course, I can't stand with.
Well, we saw it in Fallout. Listen, you win the match, and certainly he wasn't thrilled about it. So
Yeah,
obviously, he definitely showed his his frustration, sir.
And I get it. I get it. But look, he wanted to play them games, and I simply just outsmarted him. Because I told him, I tell everybody who challenged me for this title, I said, you better make it count. Don't make a
Perfect.
mistake.
Champ. You got the belt. Show it for the audience how they're
Yeah,
coming in here. Show that lovely championship.
y'all like it. Y'all like the. Ooh.
I like it too. I definitely think that it's certainly one of the most prized possessions in this sport. So obviously, we wish him well, and I guess that we'll see what happens with you and him in the future coming up on January the 27th, pretty much.
Yeah, and I do want him to know this though. When lockdown do come around, and yes, he already made it. This is final match. Don't think I'm gonna give him any sympathy. Cause yeah, like I said, we losing a good talent, but at the end of the day, that still don't change nothing. I gotta defend my title and stay on top like anybody else. So I'm not gonna sit there. Of course, I'm gonna give him his final goodbyes. I'm gonna show him his respect like I always do, but it's just up to him if he accepts that respect or not.
I'm gonna get to comments, and I want to say hello to everybody, and I especially want to say hello to my buddy, Mr. Beer League Hero, because he's admiring my big gulps. Because I have to be honest for the audience, real quick. If I didn't have the big gulp, I will be honest, I probably still would be passed out right now. Because unfortunately, my buddy, who I hadn't seen in months, one of my longtime supporters, Steven Solanke, was like, "I'm by your house. Can we eat?" And I unfortunately had a hamburger that made me pass out like there was no tomorrow. So obviously, without the big gulp, I don't think I'd be here. But then again, I've got the energy because you're Dangelo LeFlame. You're the internet champion in Resurrection Wrestling. So, of course, I'm going to be here, but that gives me a little extra shot of energy. So, I want to come back to Nep in a second. Obviously, Nep, I'm going to have a few things to say about also that I'm going to announce here on Sportswire after in a little while. But, obviously, we heard the news that every match in lockdown is going to be a cage. We spoke with Joseph Tibbs about this. Obviously, Jimmy Controversy. I would definitely want to ask you your thoughts on Jimmy Controversy, yesterday's guest. But how do you then plan or how do you strategize going into next month's show and the first one of 2024 to keep your championship in a steel cage? So how are you strategizing to be able to once again walk away and retain your internet championship?
Now, honestly, that's a good question because all seriousness, I I never been really just I don't know.
Well, that's not a good question.
Um,
Way to answer. I don't know. I mean,
like
you're the champion. I mean,
yeah,
you
and
gotta you gotta plan for it. I mean, you gotta watch the tape. You gotta watch prior shows of wrestlers that have been there. I mean, you've got to maybe study and
yeah, of course.
maybe if it's not studying, maybe you train differently. Maybe you go to the gym more. Maybe you do some running, get up earlier. Maybe do some bike exercises. Maybe do things more to kind of increase your stamina. How about things like that?
Yeah, of course. That's one thing about it. I do study. I sit back and watch past matches and all. It just in the situational thing. Like I can do all of that, but of course, in the moment of things, you're not gonna be thinking about all that. You really just going off the instinct. And I'll be honest, that's my little secret behind the ropes and all that. I just wing it for the most part. I adapt to my environment. I most likely, of course, will use the cage to my advantage. Um, and it's just something like that. You just, you go off of what you just adapt to the situation. Because everything, of course, you can have a million and one scenarios, but then that a million and two might be, you know. So it's like, yeah, that's really it. Of course,
Okay,
I'm praying like
let me
always.
ask you a follow up on this, and I want everybody to follow Resurrection Wrestling, especially on YouTube and Instagram, and on YouTube especially at Resurrection Wrestling, where you can watch Fallout prior elevation shows and eventually watch Lockdown if you're like me in New York and can't get to the show and buy a ticket. I mean, you've obviously got a connection with the fans. The fans love you. They love you because of your energy, what you do off the top rope, what you do in terms of, move after move. You are definitely a high flyer. I saw a little bit of that in TBW a few months ago. But I'm curious in how much will you feed off the adrenaline of the fans and that crowd to kind of get you over the top? Talk to me about that aspect of it and what we'll see from you on January 27th, champ.
And that's why I feel like I can't lose. Because if the fans are giving me all the energy and all that adrenaline and the serotonin that just goes off, it's wonderful. That's why I feel like when I'm in front of that crowd, I'm a whole different person because my energy is already good enough. But of course, even like the man of energy, sometimes it's just not enough with certain people. So of course, getting the energy from the crowd, and they cheering for me, they rooting for me, they want me to be on top and stay on top and win and retain. Of course, all of that right there is just what really just sets me on edge. I just go, I don't know, I can't explain. Like it's energy overload, I guess you
Well,
could say.
sometimes they say, and I'm going to get to we have breaking news here, literally breaking news. And I'm going to get to that in a second, obviously, from our co-owner and general manager, Joseph Tibbs, who was on the show a few weeks ago. But sometimes they call those things like the unexplained. It's almost like a chain of events where it's like you
Yeah,
don't know. It's
exactly.
almost like how some people, they say fate, they say destiny, they say whatever it might be. But these are kind of one of those moments where it's almost like you can't explain it, but it's obviously going to lead you to where you want to go. But I do want to get to breaking news. Obviously, our general manager and co-owner of Resurrection Wrestling, Joseph Tibbs, wants to tell us that for guys like me, that's right, guys like me who aren't in Tennessee, near the Memphis area, can watch Lockdown January 27th live on TikTok. TikTok at Resurrection Wrestling. I believe it's Resurrection Wrestling on TikTok. And if you are like me and you want to get that front row seat, you can now do it. We're going to get more details from between now and January 27th when it comes to Lockdown. And also stay tuned here on Sportswire Radio because we are going to have a ton of coverage ahead between now and January 27th. And you heard it here first. This is why Sportswire Radio is the #1 global radio station. This is why you want to subscribe to Sportswire Radio on YouTube at Sportswire Radio 6579 backspace streams. Hit that subscribe button. You can see talent from all over the world come to this show, come to this station, and you're going to now get more coverage. And this is what you're going to get: breaking news. You never know what's going to happen. Just like Dangelo LeFlame, you never know what he's going to do in the ring. You never know if he's going to do a moonsault. You never know if he's going to do something crazy off the top rope, almost reverse a power bomb into a pile driver, whatever it might be. You're going to want to tune in now live January 27th, worldwide, around the world on TikTok. Resurrection Wrestling. You can watch it. So get the popcorn ready. Get the big gulps like me. Get that chair ready. Or if you got the gaming chair, whatever it might be, just sit down, relax like me. If you got a phone, get the tripod ready and just put it on the whole night. Put that phone on silent. Put it on do not disturb. And you're going to have a front row seat to some of the biggest talent in this sport, and especially our guest tonight, Dangelo LeFlame. He's certainly bringing the flames, he's bringing the energy, and he's bringing breaking news alongside. So I want to make sure that we continue to talk about that, and we will do that here over the next little while here on Sportswire Radio. So we're going to get to some comments. Obviously, want to piggyback off that, say hello to some people. Want to say hello out to my buddy Ron out there in the state of Pennsylvania. Says, good evening, Tom. Also, Mr. Tibbs wants to say LeFlame, exclamation point. Speaking of somebody that we have to respect, a man you know very well, and you were a part of Team Resurrection that defeated Team TBW, but that was
Yeah.
a different Atomic Titan. Now this is the Atomic freaking Titan, who's the hardcore king. But he says, "What's good?" I want to say hello to Bonnie. Bonnie, thank you for tuning in. I want to say also potentially if this is Mr. Mac 10 is here, and I have to ask you because Mac 10. We heard a lot from Jimmy Controversy about him. Joseph Tibbs said a lot about Mac 10. So you got to tell me about the renowned worldwide superstar, Mr. Mac 10. What was it like sharing a ring with him at Fallout?
Man, look, honestly, just sharing the ring with Mac, like Mac and Jimmy. Of course, I would love to work with Jimmy. I have worked with Mac a couple times. Now Mac is a wonderful wrestler. It might not look like
Absolutely.
it's not.
He's been
Yeah,
in the Carnage Cup. I mean, Mac
yeah.
10
Like
is like, if you have
honestly,
Fight TV, if you have, independent wrestling TV, you have seen Mac 10 on your screens. It's a big deal
yeah. Cause
thing to have
all
Mac
things
10 in this
like
company.
we sit there and clown Mac because we personally know Mac. But like behind the scene, Mac is a wonderful wrestler. Clearly, he goes and he handles business. He clearly been on the Indies before. Like he is like really underrated, of course. And like of course, like I said, we rag on him, of course. But anybody who just sit there and look at him like, nah, he ain't. I promise you, that is one dude you don't want to see in the ring for real, for real. Especially if
Let me ask you a general question on that. I have more comments and I will say hello to everybody as I always do. When you have guys like Mac 10, you have guys like Jimmy Controversy. I mean, Jimmy Controversy is wrestled Tommy Dreamer, he's wrestled Pitbull, Gary Wolf. I mean, he has been in there with a who's who. Graham certainly came up a lot last night, obviously for different reasons, and he has been where a lot of the up and coming talent like yourself would like to be.
Right.
When you're in a locker room, don't tell me about whether you like them on screen or not. I'm not interested in that at the moment. But when you're in a locker room with guys like Mac 10 and Jimmy Controversy, who have been in places that you and many others would like to be, what do you learn from them? And what do you try to take away from those moments when you're in that locker room with them?
Like I will tell you, me first seeing Jimmy when he showed up, like cool, honestly, just cool, humble dude. I will admit, I will be 100% honest. I thought because he is a bigger name. And I thought he was gonna come in being on a douchebag energy, but like he really wasn't. He came, he was chill, shook everybody hand, sat there. Oh, hey, he researched us. He sat there like, I watched the match. I like what you do. I like what you do. Like it wasn't no, hey, I'm just doing this for check and nothing like that. He genuinely cared about what he showed that he was interested in us. He wanted to do this. It was wonderful. Same for Mac. Like Mac, he was just like, he's one of the guys that train us, mentors us. So like, Mac is the one person in the locker room, of course. Both of them are. I was really surprised because I wasn't, like I said, I kind of went in with I guess, a negative like vision, and that's my fault because I normally don't judge
Well,
people.
why did you go into a negative vision for? Why would
Because
you?
from my just personal past experience, like somebody with a name, they try to act like they're above you. And so I just came off with that mindset. But soon, like legit, when I finally got to know the man, he was cool, he humble. I can't stress
Did
that.
you feel as if, champ, that maybe you had your guard up because you looked at it like, okay, these guys have been on, for the independent wrestling fan in the deathmatch world, they've been on the big screen. Jimmy's obviously Necro Butcher has been out there with. Mac 10 has been in Carnage Cup, and
Mhm.
he's been in a number of different places. Do you think that maybe it's almost like you're trying to territorially defend what you're trying to obtain? Is that maybe a part of it also?
I guess so, because I just didn't want him. Like, yes, we are the smaller company, but I didn't want him to feel like the playlist, like we just, at the end of the day, we all worked hard just as hard as you. And I didn't want him to come, bash it. But like I said, he didn't. So I kind of feel bad. But like, us being in the locker room and all that, like I said, personally knowing him, I saw he wasn't on the type of energy. So I got respect for him.
All right, fair enough here. We'll certainly come back to that as I want to get to some more comments. LeFlame is the truth. Well, you've definitely shown so far that you got a lot of truths, and it's a different kind of truth. Uh, the Mac 10 basically says, as I think this is Mac 10, he's the best there is. Um, Carnage Cup 13 participant, Mac 10 in the house. They're all coming to my playground. I want to say this, by the way, can I just break the fourth wall? If Mr. Mac 10, especially after we having Jimmy controversy on Sportswire yesterday, if Mac 10 wasn't busy at any particular point between now and the 27th of January, I would be very honored to have Mac 10 on, because having Mac 10 on would be a huge deal for us on Sportswire. So if there's a will and a way, and if Mr. Mac 10 could certainly get in touch with him, or if I can get in touch with him, I'm on Instagram at the Sports Report 2021. I'm also here on YouTube at 6579 Sportswire Radio Backspace Streams. Also, Facebook at Sportswire Radio and at Tom Bryce. I would certainly be very, very honored to speak with Mr. Mac 10. So if there's a well and a way, that's what I want to say. So, Yellow smiling. Okay, good enough. Just wanted to stop by and compliment the match from Fallout again. Was great being a part of it, especially from the ref. Okay, now I've noticed our referee. I've seen him on our elevation shows. So, talk about our referee and how important it is that we have a referee that appreciates what you're doing, I guess.
Look. Shout out to Steven. Love Steven. Steven do his job very well because it's really, a lot of people like a lot of other promotions, they use their wrestlers or somebody else. But like Steven was one of the ones who's like he dedicated to himself being a ref. Because people don't understand how important a ref is inside the ring, outside of the ring. Like of course, Steven behind the scene, he makes sure we straight. If we in a match and something goes wrong, hopefully, of course we don't want nothing to go wrong, but he be right there and he do his job phenomenal. and I don't think Steven get enough credit for that, honestly. Like from
Yeah,
us as wrestlers and from the crowd, fans, you know.
it's funny you said that as we're speaking here with Resurrection Internet Champion D'Angelo Flame, the energy of Resurrection Wrestling, also the energy of wrestling as a whole. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, your voice of all wrestling. I've actually interviewed a few different wrestling referees. I've interviewed one in the UK, and I've interviewed another one a few years back. And I think actually the most difficult job is to be a referee because you actually have to know your spots. There's other things within a match that, I think a lot of people don't realize and such. And I even also interviewed a basketball player, a college basketball player, who wound up learning to go to referee school. And he even told me on the air, he's like, I never really appreciated the job of a referee until I kind of tried it out and learned it and took some classes. So I want to make sure I give a big shout out to Steven and thank him for the job that he's doing because it is a thankless job. It is a difficult job here. And you will not go against Mac 10. So obviously, you not go against Mac 10? Is that true? Is that fair? What do you want to say?
Depending on the situation, I am not a deathmatch wrestler. I'm not a hardcore wrestler. Save that for Dustin Alexander, Mac 10, Jimmy Conrad. Save that all for them. Now, he want to see me in a one-on-one, fair game. He want to see me in a steel cage. I even consider that, but I would no. The stabbing and I'm good on it.
It's funny you
He got
said that because I was asking, as you know, we had Jimmy on the show yesterday, and I was like, you had a match with Tarzan Duran, and you were like stabbed, and I actually had one of my friends watching the show, and he was like, do these wrestlers really get killed, or could they get killed? And I'm like, well, I don't want to break the fourth wall, but certainly death matches are not for everybody. But Mac 10 and guys like Jimmy Controversy, they're the best at it. That's why they're the pros, and I'm not. But obviously, we'll have to see if one day maybe you'll change your mind. Thank you also, by the way, for Mac 10 for following me on Facebook. I definitely want to message you after I'm off the air. Good to see you, LeFlame. Mr. Cameron Cage. Anything you want to say to Cameron?
come back. Um, you know what we discussed in past things. So I need you to come back and run the ones with me.
Stay tuned. Stay tuned. And also, I want to make sure we follow D'Angelo LaFlame on a number of different platforms. We have D'Angelo LaFlame on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and yep, pulled up that prize, champ. You got one of the prettiest ones in this sport. And look
Follow
at
me on
all the
Twitter,
different social medias. You got
YouTube,
Twitter, X. You got YouTube.
TikTok,
TikTok is there, and you got
Instagram.
and you got Instagram, and you got the John Cena almost spinner thing there because I
Oh,
saw the champ do an elevation.
the fans, they love it. Everybody loves it. And when they see
Listen,
me,
how many times are you doing that per day? How many times are you spinning that title chair? Listen, you're live on Sportswire. You can tell us, everybody around the world, every wrestler I know in the yard and underground and the pros, they go out there and watch these things. So how many times a day are you really spinning that championship?
and also, if you want me to be 100% honest on the daily, I like just me doing little stuff. I probably do it 5 times, 5 to 6. Then like on show days, it's nonstop. Like if you see some of my promos, I'm spinning it in the promo. In my match before I come do my entrance, I spin it. I love it. It just I don't know. It just it's wonderful because
I don't
then
blame you. Well, listen, you got a title, right? You got one of the most energetic prizes in this sport right now. So if I were you, I'd be spinning it not 5 times a day, 50 times a day,
probably
because you got the prize that I think a lot of people in this sport want to have, figuratively and literally.
yeah, because I like my belt. I feel like it fits me perfectly because every nothing wrong with just the standard plates, but I feel like mine's fits me more because the belt is, I guess you could say, is going everywhere, and I go everywhere when I'm in the ring or make my entrance, and it just it it makes people happy. I make people happy. My ring work make people happy. So I feel like the belt fits me perfectly. I don't think nobody else would be a better internet champion than me. I fit
Absolutely, no
to a T.
question about that. No question about that. Let me get to some more comments, and people want to talk to you. And again, please continue to support Resurrection Wrestling on their different social media channels, in addition to D'Angelo LaFlame. Craven Rage, who I know will be back on Sportswire very soon, who is the WC All Out Champion, the Backyard Nightmare, the ruler of the yard, who's going to be back in action next weekend over in the IMFs Winter Class Show says, you're a very great talent. I like your style. Appreciate that.
I,
Wash his
I
hands.
appreciate
I'm not sure what's the wash hands reference. What's the wash hands reference?
all I can say, I guess, I'm finna wash my hands of Nelf for lockdown.
Ah. Well, you know what? Yes, I think January 27th, you very well could be washing your hands permanently from Neff. And obviously, that's the news that kind of, I think, really took people by surprise. And, we're supposed to have Neff on Sportswire Radio. So I wonder now how that dynamic is very well going to be changed now. So that's an interesting conversation. Stay tuned for details because Neff is returning and he's going to be returning to talk about what has happened with him now in his career, being that this is it for him on January 27th. So we're going to hear from him eventually here on Sportswire Radio very soon. I want to say hello to Yolanda Walker. Hi, LeFlame. How you doing out there? To you, Yolanda. Thank you for joining us here on a Saturday night because people, listen, you could be out there watching Impact Wrestling, which I'm going to get to in a second. You could be watching the in-season NBA championship. You could be watching NXT, but you're here with us on Sportswire, and I want to thank you. Steven would like to say, appreciate it, guys. Fallout produced some of my favorites to be a part of. Loved having TBW's Ref Carter. Obviously, Ref Carter is our main ref in TBW. He
Shout
allowed
out
me to
to
take a
Lord.
break and do photos for the show, too. So that's good to know. I mean, speaking of TBW, obviously, the first time that I really got a chance to dive and kind of know who you are was about 3 or 4 months ago when we saw Team Resurrection, Team TBW, Battlefield, and in that particular moment, Team Resurrection came out on top, and it was a slew of stars out there. Listen, our old friend, the Atomic Titan, when he was the Atomic Titan, now he's obviously the Grand Slam winner of TBW. He was on the show. He was there. Jacob Young, kind of the more bizarre captains ever for any team in history, was on the show a few weeks ago. The party killer Fat Asian, the former TBW world champion, was also a part of that team. You had the Grim Reaper, Joe Anderson, Max Chaos. I mean, Max Chaos, a phenomenal star. And you guys pretty much had a slew of stars in your own right, and you were one of the survivors. And I wanted to ask you, for those that are listening and watching on Sportswire Radio Live, what was that experience like in competing in TBW and going out on top with a victory in Team Resurrection versus Team TBW?
First thing I'm gonna say. The first thing I'm saying that TBW Heat do not play, but it was wonderful. Now I will say this. Now I didn't have no faith in the team because we didn't have the chemistry, but we got it done at the end of the day.
You had more chemistry than the team at TBW. I mean, that was a bizarre team to say the least that they had.
Yeah, because of course we just had ex congregation members Ronnie and Spade. They was button heads, and of course we had that Beast. Now he's wild now, but the Beast Adrian Prince, of course, had Nelf. So it was just a whole bunch of rah here, rah button heads everywhere, and then
Yeah,
you
it was
just had
almost
me.
like you guys, in a way, all kind of didn't get along, but maybe for that one match, you existed well enough that you were able to get a huge victory for Resurrection, I would think.
Yeah, because we most definitely didn't get along, but I think we all knew what was on the line, so we all said, "Hey, mutual thing." It was enemy of our the enemy of our enemy is our friend kind of thing.
Yeah, pretty much
Like,
like, look, we're
yeah,
on
we
the
don't like
same
each
side.
other,
Yeah,
but
exactly.
we
Exactly.
had to handle business. And then after that, clearly you seen, yeah,
But it
uh,
worked out. I mean, it worked out. I
yeah.
mean, obviously it's not your decision, but would you love to see more of that on TBW TV? Obviously, we've seen the relationship now in Resurrection these past few big shows, but would you like to have another one of those kind of Resurrection TBW matches
Of
again?
course, no, no, I love going to TVW. I just don't like the heat, but honestly, I love working with all them guys. They real nice. They treat me like just a normal guy. Like, um, I had my match with a Prophet, and yes, I have to go spin the block on Mr. Prophet. After he attacked
The
attacked,
Prophet Day Wild. Boy,
yeah,
the
after he
Prophet
attacked
Day
me after
Wild.
my match with him. But yeah, like TVW got some wonderful talent, wonderful guys. All on everything I love. It's real nice there. And I know we normally host our indie shows, and they come wrestle with us if they want to host. just know we. I don't want to speak for everybody, but I feel like all of Resurrection would love to go down there. But if you just want my confirmation, TBW, if y'all want to set up something and want to host it, I would gladly be the first person to sign up and be down there. And y'all got my word on it. So yes, I would love to work with TBW again.
Is there anybody that you bonded with in sharing a locker room with them, whether it's been at Resurrection or whether it's been in their particular place? Was there anybody that maybe you bonded with in their locker room?
Yeah, like of course, like in our locker room, of course, I bonded with a lot of people. TBW, I done bonded a lot with almost everybody on the roster. Now, two that stands out the most would most definitely be like Painmaker. Um, I bonded with him a lot. Uh, Mr. Russell Cooper, the spectacular, the spectacle. I mean, I'm sorry, but Russell Cooper, he was nice. Alec Michaels before,
Well, you and Alan Michaels had that like moment that everybody's
yeah,
talking about on Instagram, and we had on Alan Michaels, of course, a couple of weeks ago because he was a huge part of that Resurrection TBW show that we just saw at Fallout, and Alan Michaels was in the main event of the last Rampage show in the Gold Rush tournament. Alan Michaels has kind of come on here of late, kind of like you in a way that these last 3 or 4 months. He's really come on strong and been a legitimate guy that you want to watch. So I could definitely see you and Alan, your personality is very similar, you and Alan
yeah,
Michaels. Obviously, much different wrestlers, different size, but you and him definitely, different, but different, but similar in many ways.
yeah. Um, of course, like time before he, became the turtleneck master, he was nice.
So
Of course,
wait a
James
minute,
Flair.
you're not a fan of the turtlenecks at all? Because everybody on Sportswire seems to be knocking these turtlenecks. So you're telling me, Mr. D'Angelo LeFlame, Mr. Champ, that you don't like the Atomic Titans turtlenecks? What do you have against turtlenecks?
It just like I don't got no problem with it. It's just you're wrestling in a turtleneck. I know you're hot. You're gonna pass out. It's just like, come on, man. But like, I'll give him that. He got the style. He got it. But it's just the whole wrestling in the turtleneck. I know you hot. You sweaty. Your neck itch. It's just like, come on, bro.
That was a lot more information than I would have liked. But let me ask you a more general question as we'll certainly move away from whether people like the Atomic freaking Titans turtlenecks or not. But being with TBW and their following, the TBW following, I think, is very unique. And I think it's a lot more underrated, believe it or not, than people would realize. They've got over 6,000 subscribers. Anytime I talk about TBW on Sportswire, all of a sudden people start talking. Whether it's a bit of jealousy, whether it's a bit of the fact that they love the product, whatever it might be, whether it's competition, the facts are when you mention TBW, people all of a sudden the woodworks come out and they want to obviously chime in. With TBW's following, how much was that for you guys big in seeing firsthand why their product has been so successful? And maybe what do you guys take away from that?
Um, they clearly earned it. They are most definitely underrated. And I feel like, yeah, the little haters they do, the haters they do have, that just clearly should tell all of them, y'all doing what y'all supposed to do. Because if
Well,
you,
I have an answer for that. So the answer is the people that hate on TBW are the people that secretly watch every single show, have it on the
yes,
notifications
them be the
button.
ones. They be the
Exactly.
main ones. Because if you hated the product so much, why are you tuning in every week? That's how I see it. If you genuinely hate it, you would try to do everything in your power to stay away from it. But here you go. TPW just uploaded. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Da, 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 da. You right there. So yeah, I feel like they doing what they need to be doing. They clearly doing something right. Oh,
Absolutely. No, 1,010%. Because again, if you say you don't like it as much as you don't like it, the facts are you're watching the product more than anybody else. Steve would like to say, I don't have anything against the turtlenecks personally, but he can't be claiming himself the hardcore king when he's on the same card as Jimmy and Mac. Obviously, I know that you're not a hardcore guy. This has been kind of a debated topic on Sportswire. We've had certain guys from different places and different states that are certainly maybe competitors of TBW, but Do you think, though, that the Atomic freaking Titan is the hardcore king? Should he be calling himself the hardcore king? Because he is the hardcore champion, after all, of TBW. So, I mean, is that a fair statement from our referee, our senior official here in Resurrection Wrestling,
Oh yeah,
Steven Silvestri?
I wholeheartedly agree with Steve because
You do? Why?
Titan only had, to my knowledge, only one hardcore match. Yes, you won the title, but do that truly make you hardcore? I can have a hardcore match. They don't make me hardcore. Um, I feel like it
But he
comes
beat
with,
two of the most, I would say, hardcore wrestlers in TBW around, in the Grim Reaper, Joe Anderson and Jacob Young.
and right. I can't deny that he did. He beat Jacob Young. He beat it Joe with the Grim Reaper. Like
A
I
man
get,
you know very well. You know them both.
yeah, I do. And they some hard hitters. Most definitely Joe. He a hard hitter for real.
Oh my! You know, Joe Anderson. I watch him in the ring, and I'm like, okay, you know what? I don't think pro guys could really handle some of the stuff he does. I mean, he dishes it out. I mean, and I feel like Joe Anderson looks the same way, like even like in his sleep. I mean, Joe Anderson, to me, literally, he is the Grim Reaper. If there ever was a Grim Reaper, it's Joe Anderson. Fits him to a T.
Yeah, because after our match in Battlefield, well, no, during the he hit me one time and I went, and that wasn't no that was the power behind it. So I give Joe that he got some things on him. He
Oh,
hit me
no, he. Let me tell
rough.
you something. Joe Anderson's definitely, you know, some people say different things about themselves, but Joe Anderson, he is definitely the Grim Reaper. I have a good question for you, and I actually want to bring it to you.
Okay.
And this is from Cameron Cage. So, when's the next internet title open challenge? Don't spoil anything, but it's a good question from Cameron.
It just of course it's just up to the board of directors. You know, if they let me go out and have the opportunity, because I don't have no problem. You see, I try to do it every week until Neff started interfering with everything. But I try to have them legit every episode. So the next episode, if you want to come out, come out. That's all I can tell you.
Well, you definitely better come out, and you definitely better support Resurrection Wrestling. And you can do that on the platforms below, and also the breaking news announcement. Again, is at the show itself, January the 27th, the first live show of the year for Resurrection Wrestling, called Lockdown, will be streamed live on TikTok. So if you're like me in New York, you can watch it. You have no excuse. All you have to do is get a front row seat, put that phone on the tripod, and you'll be able to watch the show for free of charge and join in. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, your voice of all wrestling, the host of the Sports Report, the man behind Sportswire Radio. And if you are here on Sportswire Radio for the first time, I also want you to make sure you follow us here on a number of our different platforms, because we have many of them. First of all, you can check us out on our brand new internet radio station. That is at sportswireradio.org, where 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, you can listen to all of our great content. You can also check us out on our brand new blog, which is right here on Tumblr. That's at Tumblr, and also sportswireradio.org. So make sure you check that out. As I put the wrong icon up, that does happen once in a while. But if you want to check us out on YouTube, you can also do that at Sportswire Radio 6579 backspace streams. And I'll have more coverage coming up with a birthday boy. That'll be tomorrow night, 6 o'clock Eastern time. So if you're going to be like me in New York, you're going to be dealing with 70-mile-an-hour winds like they've got in Tennessee right now, and it's going to be monstrosity of rains, wind, and who knows what else. Hang out with us, because the birthday boy today, Robert Pearson, one half of the team Chaos Conspiracy, also alongside his tag team partner Jacob Cassidy of DBW, Dominant Breakout Wrestling, is going to be here live to talk all things related to DBW, plus who knows what else, and especially from the comments made by many of the DBW in the locker room that have been basically calling out Mr. Pearson and Mr. Cassidy, like the Stompers, like T3, like Jackson Sabre, like the It Factor Cyrus, our global champion. So you will not want to miss that right here on Sportswire Radio 6579 backspace streams tomorrow, 6 o'clock Eastern time. Robert Pearson and Jacob Cassidy of Chaos Conspiracy and DBW. They're also in EBW. They're going to be here live with us, and I want to wish Mr. Pearson a very, very happy birthday. As I said in my video to announce him, this is the best birthday gift he's ever getting, because he's returning live to Sportswire Radio. And speaking of Jimmy Controversy, Dangelo LeFlame, Monday night, 9 o'clock, I have Jimmy Controversy's next opponent coming up on January the 6th at the TF Crew North Haven Massacre. Hardcore himself, So if you don't like hardcore matches or you don't want to compete in them, but you want to have a front row seat to see what hardcore has to say about Jimmy Controversy after what Jimmy Controversy said about him yesterday, you are not going to want to miss this one. Hardcore is here to respond to Jimmy Controversy. He is going to talk all things related to the North Haven Massacre, January 6th. I want people to follow our friends at the TF Crew. You can watch their show live on YouTube. TF Crew 69, almost 2,000 subscribers on YouTube. Check them out on Instagram at TF Crew. 9 o'clock Eastern Time. Hardcore is going to be here to talk Jimmy Controversy here and some. But we are here right now with the energy, not only of Resurrection Wrestling, but of all pro wrestling. That is Dangelo LeFlame. He is our internet champion. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce. Let's get to some more questions. I want to say hello to Mr. Painmaker himself in a second, but I have a good question here from Mr. LeFlame from Mr. Silvestri. What's your personal favorite match you've completed? An excellent question.
Oh, I enjoy all my matches, honestly, but now, like, if you just need an answer, I'll probably say, um, I'll probably say mine's against Adrian Prince. I'll be honest, because it was more, it showed a different side of me, more hard hitting. It wasn't all just flashy, flashy the whole time. Of course, I threw in some flashy spots, but for the most part, it showed like I have the endurance to hang with the big men, the powerhouses, and all that stuff.
Do you feel that that's something you'd like to explore more in due time? Because, Jimmy and I was speaking last night, and Jimmy had an interesting perspective on a couple of different things, and I want to get your take on it because obviously you're more of an up and comer, whereas Jimmy's been around the block a little bit now, and Jimmy was saying what makes a great match is kind of like a contrasting of styles where maybe one wrestler might be more of the, let's say, like you, kind of more like a high spot wrestler, and then you might have more of, let's say, either a technical wrestler or let's say more of, let's say, a hardcore wrestler, pretty much. I mean, so how do you feel about that? Would you like to explore more matches, let's say, with those that may not have the same style as you? I mean, talk to me about your thoughts on that.
Most definitely. Because at the end of the day, it will. To me, I feel like it'll make a better match. Then I feel like that makes me better at just a wrestler in general. Because it's not. It's something that's taking me out of my zone. That forces me to learn another way how to get the job done. Um, because I do. I just ultimately I do want to be an all arounder. But of course, I have my default. Like you said, when you see me, you see a high flyer.
Oh man, when you are in the ring, I almost feel like you're one of these guys that must sit there and invent moves and just go. I know you say you just kind of wing it out there. You told us that a little while ago. But, when I watched you and I watched a number of your matches the past few weeks, and obviously the Fallout show I got a chance to see after we had Mr. Tibbs on. But I mean, watching you in the ring is something else. I mean, you bring something to the table that I think a lot of up and comers don't necessarily bring. You remind me almost of a guy I covered in the UK, a guy Supersonic Sammy Blue. And he was a high flyer, and he was like you, an up and comer about 2 years ago, and now he's basically become like a very, very well respected and kind of a guy that's in demand independent wrestler. And I kind of see you maybe going that same path because of what you can do in the ring. I think it's really, from what I've seen in sort of these, I guess maybe you want to say, in between of, let's say, somebody who's a yarder and let's say somebody who's a pro. I think you bring kind of a style that I haven't seen too much from different kind of people in your shoes. I mean, what's your thoughts on all that?
And I agree because a lot of people tell me that, especially at my height, I shouldn't like a lot of people tell me I shouldn't be doing the stuff I do at my height. I stand at 6'4", jumping
Yeah,
over
I
the
was gonna say
dive.
you're definitely on the taller end in terms of guys who do what you do. I mean, listen, we watch things in AEW. We watch, obviously, Impact has their show right now, and WWE. Not even guys, I would say, in those companies are doing stuff that you're doing. I mean, is that something that you kind of conceptually or maybe consciously decide that's kind of who I want to be in D'Angelo LaFlame? I mean, what do you say to that?
I embrace it because that tells me, hey, I stand out from the rest, and that's ultimate. That just all of that's every wrestler ultimate goal. Just stand out from the rest and put on, make the people enjoy it. Clearly, I stand out from the rest. The fans enjoy it. So I think I'm doing a wonderful job at it. I think I should continue working on that. Of course, like I said, overall, I want to be all arounder, but I am fine with like where I'm at now. I feel like, of course, I always want to improve, but I feel like right now I'm doing the right thing. It's working, so I embrace it for the most part.
I'm curious, Champ, and obviously you said a couple different things, and I want to talk about them in different ways. But I first of all, as I'm getting a chance to get to know you here, and I'm obviously getting a chance to know the product here in Resurrection, especially over the past few months, and obviously with Sportswire's relationship with TBW, which in a way makes us kind of obviously aligned at the hip as well. And who were some of the wrestlers that influenced you to kind of want to go out here and join up in this crazy journey?
It's not gonna be your typical big names like a Johnson, a Batista. It's not. It's really the guys that they face to make themselves look good. Like my biggest influence is Dolph Ziggler. Um,
That's a good one. I haven't
yeah,
heard. I've been doing this 5 years, and I've probably interviewed not to. This is basically me. Just I'm not trying to brag. Maybe about 500 to 600 wrestlers. That's the first time I've ever heard Dolph Ziggler, a wrestler, say that they were influenced by Dolph Ziggler. It's a very interesting one. Go ahead.
Dolph Ziggler, The Miz, Sami Zayn, um, of course the legends like Eddie, of course
Yeah,
Cole Harding.
everybody says that. I would say Eddie, conversely, of everybody I've interviewed, whether it's in the UK, whether it's
Now,
across the yard,
now
it's
this
Eddie.
is the one that's gonna surprise people. Sean O'Hare. I
Sure,
don't.
wait. I know Sean O'Hare. People used to say I had like the Sean O'Hare look a little bit. I mean, Sean O'Hare, we're talking like that's a real interesting one. That's like late WCW, and he was a little bit in the Ruthless Aggression era. Why Sean O'Hare? That's an interesting one. You tell me why you influenced by Sean O'Hare.
And like at first, it like he was just one of them guys. Like he was just there. Like clearly
Yep.
he had success, but he wasn't just a top guy. But at the same
Yeah,
time, he
I mean
wasn't.
they put him with Roddy Piper for a brief period, but if you look at his career, I would say it's largely not underwhelming, but definitely not. It doesn't stand out. Like you said, Dolph Ziggler. Dolph Ziggler, at the end of the day, is going to be a Hall of Famer. Certainly, he didn't have the John Cena run, but he still was a world champion. He had the longevity. I believe he's actually wrestled the most matches in WWE history. But Sean O'Hare, I mean, I don't think I'm ever going to hear that one again, champ. I know I'm never going to hear Sean O'Hare as an influence ever again in my career. So you have to continue to elaborate on that.
Yeah, and then he was a big man that was very athletic for the most part.
He was. Yeah, he was. I would
And I
give you
think
that.
that, and I kind of now that like see myself as a wrestler, of course I'm not like to his standard, but like his build and all that doing the stuff that he was doing, I kind of see it in myself because like once again, at my build, I shouldn't be doing it. Some of the stuff I'm doing, um, and that really is just one of those things. Like I kind of see myself as I don't want to. I guess I see myself as like a support character, a support wrestler. I'm not the top dude. You're supposed to look good, but like you can say, hey, he's nice with it, but he's not that top guy in a sense.
You're kind of almost like that definition, and I will get to comments in a second. I promise I will. You're almost like one of those guys that the fans love to see. You're essentially, I don't want to say that you're basically a guy that puts over the stars, but you're a guy that's on a card, especially on what we're going to see in lockdown. Kind of like one of those guys that's a buffer between the opening match and let's say the closing. You're kind
Yeah,
of that buffer that kind of keeps the crowd still in it, if that makes
yeah,
sense.
because that's my whole like mindset. Of course, I don't wish this on us, but like let's say we do have a bad show, I want at least people to say, hey, that D'Angelo match was worth it. Every
You're,
show we
you're
have,
gonna steal the show. You're
yeah,
gonna do. Listen, and that's a Dolph Ziggler reference. Dolph Ziggler was one of those guys. If Dolph Ziggler wasn't always in the main event, but a Dolph Ziggler match was always legitimately a very good match. I mean, I would also say early Chris Jericho was like that. Chris Jericho used to be a match stealer. Shawn Michaels certainly in his younger days before Shawn Michaels really was known as the Michael Jordan of this sport. But I
Yeah.
mean, he was another example of that. A guy that would go out there and you would say, okay, that's a match. So another guy that I would certainly say who came up with, in Jimmy's interview, Rich Swann. Rich Swann was like that
Yep.
also. Rich Swann, when he was in WWE, then when he became the Impact Wrestling World Champion, that's another mad name that I would say. But yeah, Sean O'Haire, that's definitely a really unique one. And then I will definitely get to a few more comments. But okay, so you mentioned some of those names. Obviously, Eddie Guerrero, everybody knows. The Miz, okay, in a way, I could kind of see that because The Miz, you go out there, you hate him. So in a way, he's accomplished something. I'm going to get to somebody else in a second. But in terms of this journey that you've had, I mean, have you met some crossroads? Have you met some, let's say, some valleys? It hasn't always been, to quote Rocky in Rocky Balboa, it always hasn't been sunshine and rainbows. I mean, you have to talk to me about that because people are getting to know you and they might be saying, Tom Bryce, why are you saying Dangelo LeFlame? He may have hit some valleys and some crossroads here to get us to be the Resurrection Internet Champion. Talk to me about that.
Most definitely that. Like when I first started out, of course, I was just cannon fodder at that point. I was just getting tossed to whoever they was trying to push at the time to make look good, and then I just, and of course, they tell you the win loss don't really matter, but at the same time, it gets to you mentally. It's like, dang, I keep losing, I keep losing, I keep losing. Like, should I keep doing this? And I had to like legit had to just one day I woke up and I just told myself, I'm gonna just pull out some. And that's when I did like my first corkscrew dive. And ever since then, I feel like that showed them, hey, he's something different. He's something special. And I feel like that what legit made my career took me from just, hey, I'm here to enhance talent to, okay, I'm my own person. I am the talent at this point.
You
And I
have become that. No, I would say in the second half of this year, I feel like you went from being a talent that you would be on the show and you'd put on a good match. Whereas, and we saw this in TBW and we've seen this late in Resurrection, you have become a guy that, you know what, I could put you maybe not the main event, but I could put you, let's say, third from the main event, and you're going to put on a great match with 20, 25 minutes. And I'm going to be like, you know what? Wow, I want to pay to see Dangelo LeFlame. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to remember him. So, in a way, I could see that, but does that put pressure on you every time to go out and do something different or do something unique to kind of keep it fresh almost and to keep you where you're growing and don't go back to where you kind of feared you would always be?
yeah, I'd say it most definitely put pressure because, like I said, we got plenty of talented people. Um,
Absolutely.
so yeah, it keep because I know if I underachieve, clearly, if I underachieve, I lose my title. If I underachieve, that's less and less of me being on the card. And at the end of the day, I want everybody to get an opportunity, but at the same time, I got to eat too. So I'm gonna do what I need to do to handle my business, and you're gonna have to earn your opportunity somewhere else. Because I genuinely feel like out of the people I started with, I'm the rookie of the year. I feel like
You
my
know,
accomplishment.
I would say, it's interesting as we're talking with D'Angelo LaFlame, of course, our Resurrection Internet Champion. I am going to get to comments in a second, but I've had on some wrestlers. Now, I don't know. Now, you might be the rookie of the year. I don't know if I would say you might be in the underground scene. I mean, Jason Storm is the OMW champion. He was the ROEW champion, but I don't think I consider Jason Storm an undergrounder. So I would say he's a separate entity. But if I thought about the underground semi-pro scene, I mean, you definitely have a legitimate case of what you've done. And look at how far you've come in the last, I would say, 5 or 6 months. You were one of the survivors for Team Resurrection, winning the internet title. The war with somebody else I'm going to get to in a second because he's here live. But I think in a lot of ways, what you've wound up doing
And
certainly.
the first mixed tag team champions on Resurrection. So like, yeah. So I do genuinely feel like I accomplished a lot. Of course, I'm not trying to brag, but it just, it's there. It's proven. Like you can go look it up and see like I accomplished these things. Not me just
You know
talking
what
out the side.
you remind me of real quick in a way? It reminds me a little bit of let's say the 1 2 3 kid almost when he was starting out. He was like you, let's say you looked at him, you loved watching him in the ring. He put on great matches, and then he had to make that transition in order to be a guy that, you know what, yeah, he's believable. Yeah, he can win. And that wound up happening years later as X-Pac, whereas X-Pac was a guy that certainly the fans, I mean, absolutely despised him later on with the famous X-Pac sucks chance, but he wound up becoming a believable guy that, could be in there and hang with The Rock and hang with guys like where he tag team with Kane and, hang with guys like Triple H and, hang with Ken Shamrock and Owen Hart. And he became like a legitimate guy that, you know what? I could put some singles gold and some tag gold on him. I think that's maybe the
Right.
direction that you go into. And, speaking of people, we referenced him at the top. And obviously, we spoke about the news that January 27th, Lockdown is going to be his last match for the foreseeable future, and especially in Resurrection Wrestling. And that is Mr. Neff Boat is here. The best is here. You may disagree. Do you want to say anything to him publicly? Because as I said a little while ago, we are certainly going to bring him on to speak about his decision and certainly to give his side of the story here in the coming week. So anything you want to say to your nemesis here, I think, of the second half of this year, and Mr. Neff?
All I am gonna say is, for our match at Fallout, I said if you don't come out on top, you cannot use the acronym BOAT, the best of all time. So I don't want him to even put best, his name in the same sentence. I told him he had to earn that title. He failed, so I don't want to hear the best is here. You're just normal guy is here. Nelf
Normal.
is here.
So he's
Yeah.
just normal then.
He
So
can,
he's
like I said, he can go run with that creme de la creme all he want to, but I better not ever hear both Nelf in the same sentence ever again, because he did not prove it at Fallout, and I will gladly prove it again at Lockdown, and that's all on that.
You think that maybe in a way though he could be more motivated because this is his swan song? I mean, listen, he would
He don't
love
want to.
to, and he would love to take that title from you because think about it, right? His last match, he goes out on top. How many people in this sport get to say they go out on top and on top of that win a championship? I mean, he might have more motivation than anybody could ever have because this is it for him. This is it for him for the foreseeable future, and he's going to want to take what you fought so hard to have and so hard to keep.
And I feel like our match at Lockdown, he will take it more seriously because I feel like because clearly Nel's been doing it longer than me.
Okay.
He was a former world champion, so clearly
Yep.
he got the experience. He know how it is, but I think he underestimated me, and it cost him. So I hope at Lockdown he actually take it seriously. Like he said, that's his last match. He better put everything he got into it. I feel like there's no ifs,
So
ands, or buts behind.
are you saying to me and to the people watching, and Neff has a response to that, and I want to jump him right at the front of the line. Are you saying that he underestimated you?
Yes, I wholeheartedly believe it. He thought I was just gonna be just like he said in his promo. He said I don't take things seriously. So he thought, oh, I wasn't gonna take the match seriously, and I told him when it's showtime, I'm a whole different person. There's nothing sweet around here. He gonna have to prove to me that he wants to take this title off of me.
And you think he has it in him to do it?
Mm-mm,
No.
no, not at all. I think he passed his time.
I don't know if I'm going to break the fourth wall here or not. And he has a bunch of comments. I want to just specifically stay with him. So if you commented here, you're going to have to wait for a while. So if you commented here on Sportswire, you said different things, you're going to wait because this is important. Do you think, in your opinion, right? This is your opinion only, right? Do you think that Neff is leaving Resurrection and even this sport of wrestling because maybe, in your opinion, he can't hang with you and he can't beat you on his best day currently? Do you think that maybe this is a part of it?
Of course, he'll never admit to it, but yes. Because
What? Whoa, whoa, whoa.
there's been
So,
plenty of times I have told him like the new pillars of resurrection is here. You've been replaced, and like his ego will not allow him to accept it, and he know he struggled with his ego real bad. So of course that's a shot to the heart. That's told the boat that he's not the best. Of course that's gonna hurt a man. So of course he's trying to. say, "Hey, I'm done," and probably gonna move on to something else. But all seriousness, just he knows his time here is up.
So basically, you're telling me what I thought is that basically he's running away from you and he can't hang with the newer talent in Resurrection. That's basically just want to confirm before I get to his
Yeah.
comments. Okay. Well, he has a couple of things to say. And again, I want to specifically stay on this for a second. So if you're out there, I say hello to you in the IMF. I say hello to you, Mr. Painmaker. Another guy who wants to say hello, ladies, the ROEW champion, CJ Black. You got your own issues to worry about. I'm worried about Resurrection Wrestling. He says, "You won because you grabbed my tights. What about that? And who said I wanted to face you for my last match? You're not that important." So we don't know, though. The card hasn't been announced. How do you know for sure that's his point, that it's going to be you and him? Maybe he's got other things on the agenda.
You're right. I generally don't know. I
What
just,
would you like to be his last match?
of course, it would be an honor at the end of the day. Of course, like I said, wonderful talent. It just he let his ego get the best of him for the most part. But I would love to be the man final match. All seriousness, it's up to him. At the end of the day, his last match, he make the
Well,
call.
how about this? I'm going to bring him on in the next week or so, and then maybe
Hmm.
the next week or two. Would you want me to ask him if he would want you to be his final opponent? Would you want me to ask that question to him?
Because even if I'm not, that's fine too.
But you would like to be his last opponent. Is that
Of
correct?
course, because we just
Now, now Joseph Tibbs is listening to this. We know that he's here, right? We know our general manager, our
Joey.
co-owner is here. So we know though that he's here. I mean, this would be a great way to lobby, I would think, to Mr. Tibbs to have his last opponent be you. Wouldn't that? And obviously, we know the history between the two of you. We know what happened after your victory, what he did to you. So we would know that it would logically make sense.
Yeah, and I feel like he most definitely want to close this chapter before he move on to future endeavors. I don't think he will want to be left. He don't want this story to be left unclosed. But he, like I said, it's up to him. If he feel like I'm not fit to be his last man, that's cool. Of course, I'm gonna tell him if I'm not his opponent at lockdown is whoever you face, you better give it your all because you better not leave on the loss. That's all I can tell.
Well, that's certainly an interesting point, and that goes back to what I said. If it's you, he's going to have more motivation than anybody would ever have because he could go out on top and take a championship away with him. I mean, that's a very hard thing to do in this sport.
You.
Very very few guys can accomplish that. So
And I do feel like I bring out the best of him, um, out of his ability because I can match his pace. We basically share the same kind of style, so I feel like I bring the best out of him out every time, even
you
when
want
we
to say,
won.
would you? Now I will get to more comments in a second. Do you want to say anything else in particular to him?
Honestly, just like I said, you choose. All I'm gonna tell you, you better not regret your decision. If you want me to be your final match, I will be honored to. If not, okay, cool. But like I said, you better give it your all, either or. If it's me or somebody else, because you know,
And I have a comment that I'm gonna directly let Mr. Tibbs handle about somebody else. So I'm gonna let that sit there for a second. It's somebody that I think a lot of people on Sportswire know. So in the respect of the company that we have here tonight, I'm not gonna go. I'm gonna let Mr. Tibbs handle that. So I'll let that sit there in itself. Also, I want to say hello to Mr. Roddy Alpha. Anything you want to say to Roddy Alpha?
Apple baby.
That was pretty simple. That was a lot more painless than some of the other things. We were talking off the air as we're here with Dangelo LeFlame. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce. If you're on Sportswire Radio, you can obviously check us out anytime on Sportswire Radio 6579 backspace streams and on sportswireradio.org, our brand new website. We were talking about, and you and I had maybe, I think, a lot of the same similarities, but for different reasons. And we were talking about kind of like, there's a certain, I don't want to say it without saying it, but there's a certain political vibe about you coming into this business and certain people. And can you elaborate for the audience about what we were talking about and how you kind of feel that,
I'm
I don't want to
glad
say there's a stigma, but talk about this because the audience doesn't know what you and I were speaking about off the air.
I will gladly speak on it. I don't like the fact that, like, in the area I'm in the Memphis area, right?
Okay.
I don't like how the Memphis area is so gatekeeping about certain things. Like,
What
um,
do you mean by gatekeeping?
the what I mean is like, if you don't know established name in Memphis, you won't get booked in Memphis. You won't be able to work in Memphis. If you don't get trained by a certain prestigious Memphis school, you won't get nowhere in the Memphis area. So I feel like it's like an injustice to a certain extent because I've been trained. Of course, I didn't go to no wrestling school, but I've been trained. I've been trained by a guy that been professionally trained by a well-known person. Okay, all he did is train me. So what's the issue? I feel like I shouldn't have to come drop boatload of money go to the school just to show that hey, I can hold my own. I have proved that time and time. I have been to wrestling school and showed them I can hold my own, and I didn't pay the money. And there's
Well, maybe
no
some
disrespect in
people,
that.
listen, I've had this conversation and I'm going to break the fourth wall for a second. So if you want to comment on Sportswire, hold your thoughts. I'll get to you. Sometimes there's companies out there or schools and they charge you $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, whatever it is. And you go to this school and all the wrestler that runs the school, and they do is talk about themselves, and they don't base all they basically do, and I'm going to use the term, so this is me using the term, they fleece you pretty much. They don't give you
Exactly.
the do's and don'ts. They basically, in a way, I don't want to say they haze you, but there are certain schools, certain wrestlers, and in wrestling they make it a very holier than thou that there are certain wrestlers. So if you're a CJ Black, if you're an IMF, you're anybody else, I'm actually gonna break the fourth wall and defend you for a second, because there are a lot of independent pro wrestlers that get on their soapbox and they have a certain judgment toward yarders, undergrounders. When meanwhile, here's the real scoop. Kick the ballistics for a second. These individuals go out there and they have no following on social media. They don't have any fans. They can't draw a lick. They've got no fans. They maybe couldn't even sell peanuts in a concession stand. And you watch their matches, they would put me to sleep more than, let's say, Napoleon 2 weeks ago on IMAX. And the truth is, they're the ones that are holding down this industry. And I see it all the time because I do a lot of wrestling coverage in England. And the political stuff with these guys who go out there and sit on their soapboxes. And meanwhile, they're about 20 years past their expiration date. They're sitting there with beer bellies. They can't even do a hip toss coming. I had one guy come on this show who doesn't even have a name anymore, basically wished death on the promotion that he wrestled in. On top of that, basically got injured for a year because he couldn't do a hip toss correctly. So at the end of the day, those people that may have been judging you for a different way, or anybody else that's on the show listening to it, those people, to hell with them, because at the end of the day, they're the reasons why they hold back a lot of people in this sport, and they're the ones that are why, in many cases, that people feel the way they do at times in wrestling. Now, I also want to say this as a clarification. If you can, you should be trained by somebody. You should be trained. But what shouldn't be is that you shouldn't be taken to the cleaners. You shouldn't be fleeced, and you shouldn't go out there and feel like that basically you need to have your legs broken in order to be a wrestler, because this is not 1979. This is 2023. And that's all I'm going to say further on that.
Exactly. Because it just I feel like it's wrong. Because like I said, eh, I'm a name drop. I don't have no problem. So Ronnie Brady, Mac 10, Jack Spade, Joseph, all of them have trained me, but they're not known in the Memphis area. So the people in the Memphis area look down at me and they just see me as a guy in the backyard. But here's the thing, and this is no disrespect to the people that wrestle on the ground. This is no disrespect to the people that wrestle on
The
trampolines,
mattresses.
makeshift
Yep.
rings.
Yep.
But I started in a legit ring. So what makes me different than a guy that dropped 2,500 to go to a school? I was trained professionally. I started in a real ring. So what makes me different?
Listen, I'll actually answer it for you, and I continue to bring this up. And again, this was just organic. This seems to be coming up a lot on Sportswire because I do have different people on from different places. Somebody learns to be a basketball player, right? They play pickup basketball. Do you tell somebody that learns to play basketball via at a school ground or a park that they can't learn how to play basketball? Do you tell a baseball player that learns somewhere in a park diamond that they can't be a baseball player because they learned in a playground, maybe not organized? Do you tell a hockey player that maybe learned how to skate, let's say, in a skating rink on their own, or let's say maybe in a schoolyard? Do you tell, let's say, a soccer player that maybe learns from somebody else in a park that they can't be soccer players? Is that
And
is that a fair point?
yeah, cause like I feel like people like us, the ones that don't go to cause I feel like it shows that we are more dedicated to it. Like
I'll
yeah,
say it right now. Listen, guys like CJ Black, guys like Jason Storm, guys like the Atomic Titan, guys like you, guys like in the IMF, XCW. I mean, there's a lot of people that come on here. I watch their stuff, and I'm breaking the fourth wall here. Is that these guys go out there and they dedicate their lives. I mean, guys
exactly,
like CJ Black, guys like Omen Black, guys like you, guys like Atomic Titan, you guys go out there and you don't get paid for this. You go the countless time on editing, countless time and going out there in the matches. So, I actually think you guys do more for this sport than some of these Mickey Mouse past their prime, nobody independent wrestlers who, when they come on here to Sportswire, can't A, speak for themselves, B, have no fans. They can't sell any tickets. They actually tried to give the tickets away free, they still couldn't draw. They still couldn't matter. So I would dare say right now, in my opinion, this is my opinion, and I don't mean to go on a long tangent about this. I don't mean to do that. But the facts are, is guys like you and guys like a lot of guys that come on here on Sportswire, you do more for this sport. You show more love and admiration for this sport, in my opinion, than I would say 90% of the so-called independent pro wrestlers out there.
exactly. I pay my dues like everybody else do.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you know what? And CJ Black, let me bring his comment, because you know what? The truth is, he goes out there and you know what? He dedicates his life to his company. All right. You can say whatever you want about it. You like him, dislike him. But you know what? The fact is that he goes at it and you know what? He puts his life into it. And a lot of guys do. Omen Black, listen, Josh Fletcher at XCW, Mr. Tibbs, Mr. Painmaker. I can go on all day. And that's the truth. Yes, people need to be trained. And that was exactly my point. But you shouldn't have to give up $3,000 of your life savings. This is not college where you go out there and get a liberal arts degree and you don't know what you're doing. You go out there and you dedicate your time. You should be getting something out of it. And that's all I wanted to say about it. That's all. That's all I wanted to say. And I want to thank everybody. And no, CJ, you're great. I appreciate everything that you've done, and I appreciate what you do in the ring for your company, and everybody else is always going to have a place here on Sportswire. Bottom line. Broke people don't make it far, wrestling kid. Well, you know what? We're going to see what happens on January 27th. I'm going to give you a shot. D'Angelo definitely deserves to become a main event because of the work ethic and the drive to become a household name. I want to follow this up in a different way. You're doing it for somebody else that's going to be coming to your family. You want to elaborate on that? Because I'm going to, again, break the fourth wall, because you might, it seems like, have somebody else, a little LeFlame, on the way. You want to talk about
Mhm.
that?
I will be having a son on Christmas, so yeah, I do it for him too. Yeah, even though he's not here yet, but you know, it's like I do want to I want to go far with this. I generally do, and of course, if his when he grow up and if someday he want to do, I will gladly show him and stuff like that. So yes, I do it for multiple people. I do it for my little girl. I do it for my soon to son when he get here. So yeah,
How has fatherhood changed you?
it made me grow up real quick. It made me grow up real quick, but it
Wh-
showed it
why do you
did
say that?
discipline.
I'm not a father, so why do you say that?
It disciplined me real quick because now helped me with my time management. Of course, I'm more priority based now. Clearly, I gotta they come first, then this come next, and it helped me with that. Made me more patient. Because it do get frustrating with a 2 year old now finna have a newborn, so it do get frustrating. So the patience is key, and I feel like even with like just little key things like that, even helps with wrestling, because you have to be patient. You have to be patient in wrestling. Um, 'Cause like I said earlier, I had the mindset. I just kept losing, but I was patient and I stuck it through, and clearly look where I'm at. Um,
Did you ever, because now you have a young family, did you ever fear for yourself out there in the ring that, hey, you know what, something happens? I mean, I know
oh
I'm breaking the fourth wall here, but I mean, it
yeah,
kind of lends itself for me to ask that question. I mean, guys are out here, other guys out here too. They go out there, and I'm sure it's the same for them. Some of the wrestlers that are on here on the show, maybe they have young families also, and I'm curious, do you ever fear that what if you get hurt and you can't provide for your
it,
young daughter and son?
it's never a match that I don't let they don't cross my mind, but I try not to think about it because the more you think about it, that's where most likely you will get hurt. So of course I try not to think about it, but every match I go out, I'm like, because even though I do a lot of crazy stuff in my matches, I'm still safe at the end of the day. I know, where to land, where not to land, and sometimes some of the stuff is out of my control, and sometimes I do get
Hey,
minor
listen, look what
hurt.
happened with Charlotte Flair got injured yesterday, right? I mean, Charlotte Flair. I mean, it's been the talk of social media. I mean, she
Right, that's just part of the
basically,
business.
yeah, I mean, listen, Charlotte Flair, I think, did a moonsault off. Somebody can correct me if they want. I was watching SmackDown. I don't think they showed it on the air, but they showed it. It was on somebody's X account, and she did a moonsault off the top rope, and I think she's gonna have a torn ACL. I think, if I'm
And
not
you see,
mistaken.
she clearly do a moonsault almost in every match. So she used to it, but you never know. That one
Well,
time
listen, I
hurt
mean, you
her.
really listen. You're speaking of laughter. I'll make everybody laugh here in a second. The old famous injury is there was a 10-man tag on Raw. It was actually the end of the NWO, and it was Kevin Nash had come into the ring, and basically he kind of fell, and he tore his quad. It was kind of the old joke. You have the Kevin Nash injury. He went out there and he kind of went to like do I think he went to do his one of his usual moves,
Hmm.
and he wound up being out for 9 months. You just never know. Vince McMahon
Right.
one year in the Royal Rumble, he was running out between Batista and John Cena, and he had the same injury. You never know out there. Unfortunately, what you guys
Triple
do,
H man for blowing his quad.
Triple H. I mean,
We just seen on Shane, he just did a little
um,
quad. Boom.
WrestleMania. Yep. Yeah. Shane McMahon's coming in, and also Mac 10 says the Mac 10 knee. That's the thing. Listen, and I just want to say I really respect and love what all you guys do, whether it's the yarders, the undergrounders, the semi pros, the pros, Mickey Mouse is in between, because you guys really. Anybody, I can play basketball and I play basketball. All right. I go out and play football. I play football. Okay. I play baseball. But what you guys do at any given moment, you just never know. Is we're here for a little while longer with Mr. D'Angelo Flame, and CJ wants to say that I'm gonna have to message this guy. Learn the secrets of gaining followers. He seemed to figure it out. 8K, pretty respectable. Well, you know what? You're gonna get there too. I got a feeling. Listen, you got gold. You're a world champion. You earned it, and I have no doubt that you're gonna have 80,000 followers one day. So
Yeah, because
everyone's
I
gonna.
do
Yep.
a lot of networking, socializing. Like this ain't just a hobby to me. Like you clearly can go on my Instagram. I take pictures with like just fans, random people. Like I go out and legit network, talk to people, and I don't have no problem conversating. And then the more you conversate with a person, they more invested into what you're doing. So like a lot of people that came to the last show, like I've never met them before, and they just came to support. It just
Well, you know what? I think, and that's why, you know what? And I just want to say one more thing, and I hope I'm not taking your time. That's why I do a lot of these shows on Sportswire the way I do, because I really do believe in networking in some ways. I believe, look, if I can connect, let's say CJ, let's say Omen and Soldier, let's say you or the Atomic Titan or Mr. Painmaker. That's why I like to do these shows. I want people. I will believe at the end of the day, you're all wrestlers, right? And we're all fans, right? We all love this stuff. And I think that it's always good to network, because there's always, like, off the air, you could talk to somebody and maybe, you learn something, or maybe there's just that support system. Because I don't think there's enough of that out there. I think wrestling, again, I've been using this term, I don't know why, for the last month, very dog eat dog. And I think that at the end of the day, I believe doing these shows on the Sports Wire, now that we're doing them regular again, I'd like to bring people together. I'd like to bring different places and different. I think what you guys in TBW has done is great. I think what IMF and XCW has done is great. I think what ROEW and the IMF is great. WC and the IMF is great. I think these different places, I think that's what we need more of. We need more networking. We need more
I
support.
Yeah,
You
most
know,
definitely. I would love to work with other promotions. Like I don't have no problem with TBW. I don't want to make that seem like that's what it is.
we love
I,
TBW on
I
Sportswire.
would say I would genuinely love to work with other promotions. 'Cause like next year, my future plans is to make a brand for myself. Because like this year was more focusing on resurrection,
Learning.
telling people
Yeah.
about resurrection. Next year, of course, I'm still do that, but it's more me. Because like
Mhm.
future plans, I'll be in San Antonio doing a show.
Oh, Texas. Interesting. Texas.
Mhm. Yeah.
Very
So like
interesting.
next
Texas.
year, most definitely, I will be traveling, trying to travel a little bit more, making a name for myself.
Well,
So
there's a lot of places. If I could break again the fourth wall, because you're basically walking right into it.
mhm.
We got Michigan. We got certainly Iowa. We've got Indiana. We've got Maryland. We've got Alabama. There's a lot of places that Connecticut with the TF Crusoe Jimmy controversy. I mean, there's a lot of places. If you want to go out that route and travel, a lot of places I'm sure that would certainly love to see what you bring to the table.
I'll gladly do it if things work out. I will gladly do it. Of course, just let me know. Y'all
Okay.
got my socials. Let me know.
I put them up there. Listen. And we've added the banner, and I certainly want to make sure everybody gets out there and supports you. And we're hanging out for a little while longer. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, your voice of all wrestling, and I'll be back here tomorrow, 6 o'clock Eastern time, with Robert Pearson and Jacob Cassidy of DBW's Chaos Conspiracy. So we'll have more coverage. Then Monday, 9 o'clock, Hardcore to talk about Jimmy controversy. That's going to be a real treat to have Hardcore here to respond to Jimmy controversy. So as we're talking about resurrection for the last part of the show,
Mhm.
what does it mean to you to be the Resurrection Wrestling Internet Champion?
It means everything because it shows that they believe in me and they see me as a person that can represent the company at the end of the day. They trust me. They know I'm gonna get the job done. I clearly give the I'm one of the reasons why fans tune in and come to the show. So they believe that hey, I'm clearly they can market behind me. They trust me. They believe in me. You know, they know I'm gonna go out and represent the brand in a positive light. Um, that's really what it is. Then it shows other companies that like, hey, this guy right here is worthy. Potentially want me to be on your show and stuff like this. Like
Well,
this.
I appreciate that you wanted to come on. I mean, I
Yeah.
definitely appreciate it. I definitely, seriously, I really appreciate Mr. Tibbs, and I appreciate the opportunities that we get on the show. And conversely, what has Mr. Tibbs meant to you?
Um, Shout out to shout out to Joey. Shout out to Joey and Ronnie because they clearly gave me my big break. I tell them all the time, like I always wanted to wrestle, but where I'm from, my hometown, like we didn't have that. So soon I got here and found
Why
out
didn't they have that in your hometown? I'm curious. Why
because
didn't they
look,
have that?
my hometown is Mississippi.
Okay.
They the last to do everything. They clearly did. Look, we don't even have a wrestling scene for real. Honestly, we don't.
Yeah, I'm trying to
Um,
think. Mississippi was Lash LaRue from Mississippi from WCW. I'm trying to think who was the big stars. I'm trying to think of in Mississippi. It's not that many. It's really very few, far and few. I think.
all I can say is like limited opportunity. That's all I can really say.
Is that on purpose? You think, or why was that?
That is, that's most like I can't even really tell you that. It just depends. Like a lot of people, I will say, don't have a lot of drive. A lot of drive. People like I would say Mississippi is known for like a dream or idea killer because most people see it as just yee yee and honk honk. Like people, they already could. I don't know. Mississippi is already viewed in a bad light. Clearly, we
Yeah, I
lagged.
mean, there's a lot there. Obviously, a lot of corruption. There's a lot of things in Mississippi in terms of the lack of things to do. It's a very poor state, and certainly the governor there has done a lot of. I have a background in politics, so I know a little bit about this. So I
Mhm.
understand some of those things. And now I'm thinking about it. WWE hasn't even really ever gone to Mississippi much. So I mean, I guess that's
Yeah,
one way to
it
look
just
at some of those things.
unfortunately it's a sad place. They don't have many opportunities. That's why I try to tell like all my close friends or just people in general like that stay in Mississippi, leave. People is that just
Oh,
leave so
yeah, no,
secure life.
I think that's obviously very, very valid, and I think I could certainly understand why. I'm going to move away from that though, And what are your goals for 2024? I always ask people that come on the show as the year is coming to a close. What are your goals in 2024?
Most definitely knock off some dream matches. Like I said, build a
Who
brand
are
for
who
myself.
are some of those opponents? Who are those dream opponents for? You have people here in the chat. You have different places that are watching and hearing you. Who are your dream opponents?
I'll break it down. For our roster, it's really only maybe like one or two more people.
Okay,
But
who are they? Who are they?
to finally knock off my calendar of where my resume of all aroundness, I need to face a technician. I already faced against Malibu, but I most definitely need to go against Drake Gold Dragon. I most definitely would love to go against Gunnar Morgan. Now that's just for our roster. You know, I most likely faced for the most part everybody on the roster. For like TBW, of course, everybody on the roster apparently had their match against Gage. I want mine against Gage. It's like, come on, I most definitely want to go against Russell Cooper. I want to go against Alan Michael. I really want to go against legit everybody on TBW just to say, hey, I have worked at least everybody here. Now other promotions, yes, even Mr. CJ Black. I've been watching his stuff behind the scenes.
There you go. There you go. All
Of
right, that's
course,
good.
Mr. Jack Delta. Everybody,
I
big
knew
high
that was
hopes of
coming. I
Mr.
knew
Jack.
that was
You
coming.
know, I have to. I just want to figure out, what's the
I
hype.
got
And no
one
knock
for
to
you.
him.
I got one for Aaron Blaze.
Yeah. I will. Yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Aaron Blaze. Yes. I've been peeping the scenery a little.
Okay.
And I hate that I can't remember everybody's name because I don't want to make it seem like they're not important. Um,
I could throw. Can I throw a few out there?
of course.
XCW Corey Lee. You and Corey Lee would be an absolute
Okay.
dream match. Corey Lee, my buddy Justin Parsley, who's one half of the XCW Tag Team Champions. I would love to see. Conversely, CJ's company, Jason Storm would be another good opponent for you. You
I
and
heard
Jason
about
Storm,
Jason.
contrast of styles. TBW, I would love to see. You and also the Atomic Titan. I would love to see something like that. You and the Hardcore King. Respect me. That lends itself
Yeah,
right there.
two
I
guys
have
that want respect for but different reasons.
Right. I would love to see that Fat Asian. The TBW original. You
You
and
need
Fat
to
Asian
spin the
again.
block on Fat Asian because in
I saw
Battlefield
that.
he kind of
I
he
saw.
got me, and I need
That's
that. I need my
why
revenge on him.
That's why I knew that because I was like, man, he had to go and deal with that. So he's got to get his revenge on that. He's
I
got to
was
get his.
smelling Taco Bell for a whole week.
Well,
Could
I don't want to get into that. But Alan Michaels, you mentioned. I would also throw Shane Davis, another big guy.
okay.
Kind of also, he's trained. He's got a pro wrestling trained background. I
Um,
think Shane Davidson would be good for TBW. I think those Omen Black and Soldier GP and the IMF would be great. Nicholas
one
Prenson.
match I do feel like that's overdue is on me and Dalton Skull, but he done wanted a match with me
Yeah, I
plenty of
think
times.
Dalton liked our video. I think for me announcing you. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
Dalton. Yep.
I most definitely. I feel like at this point I owe him that match because like he been calling me out for the longest. It's just if we can get it situated, because yeah, it just I feel like I most definitely owe Dalton. I most definitely owe him a match. Of course, one of my dream matches, of course, like I guess if I make it bigger than what I am, I want most definitely Leo Rush. And
Yes.
side note, I have been he made a post saying he was open for bookings, and I've been messaging him, and I was gonna surprise the guys, but I want Leo to come to Resurrection. I don't know if the next show or the show after, but unfortunately, I ain't got no response. But I've been trying. I do a lot of business stuff behind the scene, even though that's not my job. But like I want Leo. I
Well,
want Leo because
don't
he is
tell us the
another wrestler I
business
look up
stuff.
to.
Don't tell us the business stuff. But I'm sure Mr. Tibbs can bring in some talent if he would like. I would think that would be, and I'm sure unfinished business with Jay Wild, right? You would want Jay
Yeah, of
Wild again,
course.
no?
Yeah, because and look, that could be a possibility if Neff choose me as his opponent. If not, I will clearly have nobody for lockdown. So, Mr. J, wow, I'm gonna have to get it back some type of way. So you come to me, or I will gladly pop back up at TBW and show you something. Kick your head off again.
Well, other names I want to throw out there, my buddy Brandon Costelli, the Mauler, and DBW. That would be another good opponent for you. I think Chase Wakefield, the Bitcoin billionaire, the Blaze, Ace Christian. I think that would be good. Mr. Judgment. I think some of the VTW guys, VTW, another really, really, really good company in North Carolina. I think they would be good. I think ADT in the AWL, Alabama. Obviously, a little
Yeah.
Jason Storm kind of took him on the shelf. I think that would be another great opponent. Very unique background. He's an amateur wrestling background, and he's kind of like almost like a Brock Lesnar in a way. It would be another great
Okay.
opponent for you. Yeah.
Another goal for me for 2024 is to make it to North Carolina because my
VTW, I just mentioned VTW is like for YouTube wrestling. They have maybe it's them and XCW have the best graphics. I mean,
because
they're
my dream promotion I would want to work for is DPW Death
yes,
Deadlock Pro Wrestling. I most definitely
I
want
heard
to.
of them. Yeah, they've
Yeah.
come up. I've been in a few different people have messaged me. That's
Uh,
definitely a good one.
Another dream match is Jay Malachi. Most definitely.
Yes. Know him, sure, absolutely. No, definitely do that. I want to let Mr. Tibbs say something. We've got Jimmy Controversy. I basically made the endorsement for Jimmy to come back to Resurrection yesterday. I mean, let's give me some credit a little bit. I would like to see Jimmy back in Resurrection. And Jimmy, by the way, I think he said it on the air and off the air. He stressed the fact how much he loved working with everybody in Resurrection. So I think having Jimmy, I think opens a lot of doors. And we get to closing thoughts here. Do you feel like, and I know I asked a lot about Mac 10, I know I asked a lot about Jimmy Controversy earlier in the show, but do you feel like also, like as a talent, that there's a buzz in the company? Because if those guys gave the ringing endorsements that this is a company that they want to be in, does that make you guys and everybody else in the locker room feel like, you know what, this is a place that we're only going to continue to grow?
Yeah.
Because if guys like Jimmy Controversy wrestled Tommy Dreamer and wrestled Gary Wolf Pitbull #1, I mean, that's got to make you guys all feel like, you know what? Yeah, I think we're going to even go further than where we are now. I mean, what do you think on
And
that?
I most definitely believe that because we have proved it. Like all of our indie shows have like got the crowd started with all small as our first indie show. Then the second one got a little bit bigger, then a little bigger. Then this recent one was probably our sellout. We made double of like we sold it out.
Yeah,
So I
guys,
know.
I was talking to guys. I was talking to the TBW guys off the air, and they were talking about it. They were
Yeah,
like, "Wow, the
so I
crowd was
know.
great."
And that's a morale booster to us. So I know the next show will be 10 times bigger than the last one.
And you know what?
And
That's
we
very
continue.
hard to. And you know what? And I want to give you guys a lot of credit on that. It's very hard to sell out a show. And I don't want to say the company, but one of my regular guys that comes on, who's a multiple time world champion in a British wrestling promotion. I don't want to name the promotion because somebody will say who it was, but basically to sell out a show, even in an established company that wrestler works in. I was speaking with the wrestler off the air, and he told me we didn't sell that many tickets. I don't want to say the number on the air, but I'll bet you that you guys had far more tickets sold in a far bigger crowd, because I watched the show, than what he wrestled in. So to have a sellout, absolutely,
And right,
is a
being a
big deal.
newer company at the end of the day. And that's the killer part. We're really a newer company. I think Resurrection only been around since like 2021. I
Yeah,
ain't
I
gonna
think
sit
it's
here and act like
two
I know
years.
the
I heard
details.
about two and a
But
half
like, yeah,
years. Yeah.
we're a small company and we were doing major stuff that, companies that like so-called established haven't been doing.
No, listen, I mean, I can tell you firsthand that we're here with Dangelo, LeFlame. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce. You have voice of Below Wrestling, the host of the Sports Report, the owner of Sportzwire. For about 15 or so minutes, that I can tell you that there are companies I've worked with, and they've been around a long time, and they're not selling tickets. So what you guys are doing is great things. As we're getting toward closing thoughts, I have to ask you, because he's right now on the big screen. He's right now there at Impact Wrestling's main event this year. And he was obviously the standard bearer. I would dare say the standard bearer in this sport pretty much for, I would say, a better part of 18 months. And I'm talking about Mr. Josh Alexander. And you, my friend, had a big, big once in a lifetime opportunity to kind of pick his brain,
Yeah,
spend a
well,
few minutes with him, and you got to talk about what it was like to be with, pound for pound, maybe the best wrestler in this sport right now, in Josh Alexander.
it was an honor, honestly. A lot of knowledge. He showed me a lot of things that I just didn't know. Of course, he told me like he was honestly impressed. Like working with him for the little time I did, training with him and all that. he was impressed. The only negative thing he said is, "I got happy feet." Is because
Ah,
I
I know
told
that
him I
term.
just, like, I'm excited, I'm nervous, but ultimately he didn't have nothing negative really to say. He was like happy
Wow.
feet, just relax. And I told him I'm energy, I'm hyper, I'm sorry. But he get it. He understood. He was very calm and patient. Um, he was happy that I was a quick learner. And of course, he was telling us from his career, past experience and stuff like that. And he was just trying to tell us like, hey, this is what you need to do if you genuinely want to take it seriously and accomplish stuff like that. And I everything he said, I took it to heart because I have no problem taking criticism and I have no problem taking in information. Like if it's actual
Bro,
valuable,
it's Josh Alexander. I mean,
yeah.
let's be honest.
So
I'll
clearly
take
he
his
know what he
criticism.
doing. So
Yeah,
of course I'm
I'll
gonna
take it.
listen.
Listen, yeah, exactly. I was gonna say, if Josh Alexander is criticizing me, yeah, criticize me all you want. You're Josh Alexander. It's like, this is Josh Alexander. This was the Impact Wrestling World Champion for over a year, the longest running, I believe, Impact Wrestling champion either in their history or in the past decade, something like that. So I'm gonna definitely listen. He could say whatever he wants about me. I'm gonna definitely take that.
Yeah, because like I said, it was magnificent. If he come back to Memphis wrestling, I would most definitely go back again, talk to him, run it back with him. Because we was training with some of these people, and he was impressed that from a guy that don't have no real training history compared to the guys that goes to that school. He was impressed, and was my that's why I have my opinion on. I don't feel like I should drop that type of money on the school because clearly I didn't have that experience, but the guy who was a former world champion, the longest world champion, he clearly impressed with it. So that shows like you don't
Listen,
need.
it goes to my point again, and I don't want to spend much more time on it because I only have so much more time with you. Not every school is cracked up to be. I'm going to say it right now. Jack Delta was on this show months ago, and Jack Delta talked about that he went to a school and he did it for 6 months, and it was like it wasn't a good experience. And I've had guys come on the show, and I don't want to name any further ones that have gone to a school, and these guys act like it's 1979 still. And the truth is, we're in 2023. Case in point, WWE has the Performance Center, right? They're not teaching their students the way it was 40 years ago, even 30 years ago. It's not the dungeon, it's not these, FCW or the power plant. It's a different world now. So I think, look, people learn differently.
Yeah,
It's like earlier today I'm listening to Sports Talk Radio, and there was a player talking about the fact that the Yankees don't sign all the free agents because they have long, facial hair or long hair. So ultimately, we're in 2023. You have to be yourself. Everybody learns. Listen, I went to college, and there was certain things I learned in law that I didn't need to go to school for. I didn't become a lawyer. I didn't go down that path. It wasn't my thing. But I think the point is that you need to do what's best for you. You'll learn, you'll get it, you'll figure it out. I have no doubt that you're going to definitely do a lot of great things ahead in the future. I want everybody to follow Dangelo LeFlame on all these great platforms. Also on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, Resurrection Wrestling, Resurrection Pro Wrestling on Instagram. And also, again, TikTok is where Lockdown is going to be airing live January 27th, the first ever live in-stream show in Resurrection history. Be there or be square. I will have coverage for it, and I will also say if anybody in the locker room after the show or the next day wants to talk about the show itself, I will leave the entire day of the 28th of January open. So if that's something that people want to do, we're here on Sportswire. We want to work with everybody. We work with all our great companies. Resurrection was so happy to be working with you. I could ask you a lot more questions, but I want to ask you twofold in part. First part of the question is, what do you want to say to anybody who's going to watch you in the ring on January 27th in a steel cage at Lockdown?
I hope all I can really say. I hope I made it worth it. I'm happy that you and came out your way, spent your money to come watch us, and I hope even if you don't like my match, I just hope at the end of the day it was worth it because I get it. We on hard times, so like you didn't have to come spend your money
Yeah,
on.
I just went out. Speaking of hard times, I just went out with my friend who I mentioned, Steven Solanke, and it cost me $53 to go out to eat. Between he had a chicken sandwich and chips, and I had
Yeah,
a hamburger, fries, a pitcher of soda. $53 with the tip. That tells
Yeah,
you hard times. Now I
I
can
trust
afford
you.
it. I
When
can
I take my
afford it, but
family out, it's 50 or 60 or 70
yeah,
dollars.
I remember it being $30 3-4 years ago. Now it's 50, and I can afford it. It's okay, but the fact is that people are on hard times, and that's why I know you're going to give them their bangers worth.
Because at the end of the day, I just want the fans to know, like, I appreciate you just as much as you appreciate me. Because, like I said, you took the time out of your day, your life,
No,
to come to me.
I was glad that we had this happen because A, I was falling asleep, and B, my lovely lady friend, Miss Zena, who's a huge wrestling fan, actually tried to wake me up and couldn't wake me up. And obviously, I know she's out there, so I say hi to her. But she's out. She's a big fan. He was actually in the friendly confines of Brooklyn, New York. But no, I'm very happy we did this interview because otherwise I would have slept all day, and I've slept too much today. So this was good. This was definitely good. But no, absolutely, we appreciate you. And I want to say a few more things. Yes, message me. I think you might have followed me. I'm on YouTube at Sportswire Radio 6579. Catch me on Instagram at the Sports Report 2021. I could make something probably either Friday or sometime next week. So message me. I'll be off the air in a few minutes. And listen, everybody needs to prove. Listen, I'm doing this 5 years. I'm still looking to prove my word. So listen, everybody. There was always a great line that I think it was Zach Wilde, who was the guitarist of Ozzy Osbourne, used to always say, well, there's always somebody else that's better than me, so I have to keep learning. So we're all learning. We all need to get better, but that's why we're all going to get better together, and we're all going to win because we're all going to grow, whether it's in this company, that company, but especially in Resurrection Wrestling with our very good friend, Mr. Dangelo LeFlame. He has definitely proven he's not only the energy of Resurrection Wrestling, but the energy of all wrestling, and you need to follow him on all platforms. It has been an absolute honor. I'm going to definitely have you on a lot more in 2024. You definitely proved you gave a hell of a show. You had a lot to say. I feel like I still could have said a lot more with you, but my voice is getting sore, and I can't keep you fair because you have a daughter as well out there that needs you. But I want to give you the floor. I want to give you any closing thoughts, anything else you want to plug, share, or say. And I can't thank you enough, and the floor is yours.
All I can really say is thank you for everybody in the chat. Thank you for spending your time listening to us, of course. It was an honor for Mr. Tom for even having me, honestly.
Stop.
At the end of the day, you didn't have to, but I appreciate you
No,
because you did
I
all for me.
wanted to. No, listen, I wanted to because you know what? I watched the product. Like I said before, I love what everybody's doing out there, and I feel like that I'm learning, and I think everybody else is learning about you. That they see you on TV, but they get to hear more on you. So no, I think to me that we're all, I think, on this journey, and we're all trying to go and be in different places. And listen, pleasure's all mine.
Anybody else? Of course, follow all my socials. Clearly message me. I have no problem having conversations. If you want to work, of course, like I said, you know what to do. Book me. I don't know. Um, and then I guess to end it off, because I know a lot of people been wanting me to do it. I should
All
have did it
right,
at the
do
beginning
it,
of the
do it, do it. I know where you're
day.
going.
3, 2, 1. Julie, oh yeah.
I was actually waiting for that also, but I knew that you always save the best for last. You save the best moment for last. You, sir, definitely did that. And I want to say hello to Mr. Gemini Yang. Yes, D'Angelo has proven that he's a Rookie of the Year contender, and he very well may be a Wrestler of the Year contender in 2024. And yes, I thank you for that as well. And yes, definitely, if you want to follow Sportswire Radio again, I cannot stress this enough. You can check us out anytime on a number of different platforms. YouTube for the first time. You can follow us there, like our content, see more past, present, and future shows here at Resurrection Wrestling. Check us out on our internet radio station, sportswireradio.org. If you have a podcast, if you're a DJ, you want to hear yourself live on a worldwide station, I take care of all of those costs free of charge. So if you want to, learn, you want some energy, you can do that here. And also, we have a blog as well where I'll come out with a statement. Something that you want to say something, sir?
Can I plug one more thing?
You can plug
Can
100
we
more. Plug 100 more
can we
things.
plug Mr. Alex Michael EP one more time? 'Cause
Absolutely.
I've been listening to it lately, and
Absolutely.
look the show that I Am a Nice Guy. We can even plug in Mr. Nels. He make music too. So Mr. Nels,
I did see that.
yeah.
Okay.
So just to show that is no bad blood for real. Of course, there you go.
All right. Well, Alan will be back on Sportswire. I'm not quite sure when he'll be back, but he will be back. So obviously, we're waiting to see what happens in TBW, and we obviously wish everybody. And he's already subscribed. Thank you for that. But yeah, definitely, I'm on Instagram at the Sports Report 2021. And if you want to be on Sportswire, you can get in touch and message me, and I will arrange a date, and we will definitely have hopefully as much fun as we had with Mr. Dangelo LeFlame, and that flame is definitely not burned yet. There's still a lot more flame left to go, and he's going to be back in the ring on January 27th in a steel cage, defending his internet championship to be determined against an opponent. We'll find out here in the coming weeks. It'll be live on TikTok, so stay tuned for more on that. Congratulations, champ, on all of your success. I wish you and your family a very happy holidays. I look forward to having you back on next month, and I can't wait to speak all things related to Resurrection Wrestling and your next match. Thank you so much for your time, and I'll speak with you soon, champ.
All right. Thanks.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was Mr. Dangelo LeFlame of Resurrection Wrestling. He is their internet champion, and he'll be in the ring on January 27th to be determined against an opponent. We'll find out later here at Lockdown. The show will be also streamed here live on TikTok. You can go to Resurrection Wrestling on TikTok and YouTube for more information. Resurrection Pro Wrestling on Instagram as well. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, your voice of all wrestling, the host of the Sports Report, the man behind Sportswire Radio. If you are on Sportswire Radio, you go back to your regularly scheduled programming. If you're on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn, Mickey Mouse, SportswireRadio.org, I'll be back here 6 o'clock Eastern Time with Robert Pearson and Jacob Cassidy of Chaos Conspiracy and DBW. Until then, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, on the number one global radio station that is Sportswire Radio.